Martin Luther King was a phenom in the civil rights movement and in the annals of world history. His achievements and sacrifices literally changed the world. But where are we now? Ever since his passing in 1968, people have wondered, what would the world be like had he survived on? Moreover, what would he think of what's going on now with the civil rights movement and race relations?
What's happening in America? Civility out, shaming and shunning in. On the same weekend, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders is asked to leave a restaurant. Democratic Congresswoman Maxine Waters says don't let the public shaming stop with Sanders.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
In this video, we talk about the article by Carolyn Garris, research associate with the Heritage Foundation, where she asks these very questions. What was Dr. King's core value system, and are they the same views as today's progressives, as many on the left would have us think? Or is it that they are in fact differing greatly? Is it that we have grown long apart from Dr. King's dream of a colorblind society and we have moved towards class preferences over individual achievements? We shall see. As you listen to this article, keep in mind this was written in 2006.
It is time for conservatives to lay claim to the legacy of the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. King was no stalwart conservative, yet his core beliefs such as the power and necessity of faith-based association and self-government based on absolute truth and moral law are profoundly conservative. Modern liberalism rejects these ideas, while conservatives place them at the center of their philosophy. Despite decades of its appropriation by liberals, King's message was fundamentally conservative. The Montgomery bus boycott, triggered by Rosa Parks' refusal to abide by local segregation laws, sparked King's rise from ministering a small church in Montgomery to national renown. King's primary aim was not to change laws, but to change people, to make neighbors of enemies and a nation out of divided races. King led with love, not racial hatred. From a jail cell in Birmingham, Alabama, to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, his message inspired the nation, and his message and achievements inspire us today. Dr. King believed in the principles of the American founding. He maintained, quote, "We will reach the goal of freedom in Birmingham and all over the nation because the goal of America is freedom," end quote. Throughout American history, racism has posed a peculiar obstacle to the achievement of that goal. However, Dr. King believed that the founders had set the nation on the right course. He did not reject the principles of our nation because contradictions existed. Instead, he hoped that racial groups would put aside their differences and acknowledge the principles that unite all Americans. Today, it is conservatives who seek to unite. In a nation divided by cultural diversity, conservatives defend and celebrate the characteristics that we share as Americans. As America drifts from the ideals and ideas of the founders, conservatives stand with King as believers that the principles of the American founding are as relevant today as in 1776. Dr. King believed in a fixed moral code and anathema to moral relativists espousing subjective values. For King, a just law was, quote, "man-made code that squares with the moral law or the law of God," end quote. Dr. King required that his followers lead moral lives, and he emphasized the importance of faith in the face of adversity. Modern liberalism has rebuffed his teachings, dedicating great effort to silence religion and morality. Again, conservatives are the standard bearers here. For Dr. King, individual freedom depended upon civic responsibility. He proclaimed, quote, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character," end quote. Racial judgment is inherently unjust, but judgment based on moral character is essential. King wanted his children to live in a colorblind society, but not a value-neutral society that rejects all standards of judgment. Today, this is the conservative message. Moral character, as expressed in our social interactions, is at the center of self-government. which in turn is the sustaining force of American democracy. Conservatives know that without a morally informed sense of social obligation, we would be rudderless. In today's parlance, Dr. King's movement will be called faith-based. Unlike the doggedly secular groups that now campaign for government action in the name of, quote, social justice, King's coalition was explicitly religious, rooted in churches and Christian morality. King's ever-growing congregation labored for reform in Montgomery, in Alabama, and then all across the country. The Montgomery bus boycott testifies to the strength of churches and local institutions to make a difference. The heart of the conservative has always been grassroots movement from the bottom up rather than from the top down, focused on faith-based and community associations. While liberals who claim King's legacy seek to mandate social change from the nation's capital, conservatives seek to empower communities, associations, and congregations to carry out moral ends. King aimed to unite a divided America behind the goals of the founders, not to shift fundamentally unjust public policies to favor different groups. Affirmative action stands outside King's legacy because it requires the government to see Americans as members of privileged and disfavored racial groups, not equal individuals. This is also the conservative view.
Affirmative action, we talk about identity politics. It's really simple, okay? Equal opportunity, and you've heard this before, but I want to try and do it as simply as possible. Equal opportunity or equal outcomes. You have to pick one or the other. You can't have both. That's it. People say, well, what are the impacts? No, it's really simple to say. If you want to provide equal opportunity to people in this country, you cannot try to ensure equal outcomes. If you ensure equal outcomes, people can't have equal opportunity. And we see this happen.
It is not a coincidence that conservatives share Dr. King's core principles, as they are the principles of the American founding and continue to guide us today. Dr. King's dream echoes that of the founders. Quote, all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. End quote. King's dream is rooted in the ideas of human equality, individual freedom, and the consent of the governed. These ideas depend on absolute truth and moral law, and they are supported and affirmed by religion and religious association. This dream, Dr. King's conservative message, is nearly lost amidst the worship of cultural diversity and moral relativism. It is still a dream worth pursuing.
So what are your thoughts? Do you think that Dr. King's dream is achievable, or do you think we're right on track to what he's always wanted? Please let us know in the comments below. And if you like what's on this channel, please hit that like and subscribe button and that bell icon so that you do not miss any future content. And please share with your friends.